Is this thing on? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the New Muslim Workshop. My name is Mahmoud. In today's video, we ask the question, do you need to be deprogrammed? Let's find out together. Welcome back. So the question is, do you need to be deprogrammed? And the truth of the matter is, we all do at some point in time. However, what is deprogramming? And deprogramming, in a nutshell, is basically breaking habits that you might have formed before becoming Muslim, or if you are a Muslim, breaking habits that you formed while being further away from Allah, being someone who is less knowledgeable or less practicing of Islam. I personally start with things like sex, drugs, and rock and roll because these are generally the things that people utilize in their day-to-day that have become norm. That in Western society, it's normal for you to have a promiscuous lifestyle, for you to use the hookup culture, for you to have substance abuse, whether it's with hard drugs, soft drugs, alcohol, smoking in any and all of its forms, hallucinogens, whatever the case may be. And when it comes to rock and roll, music in general, self-soothing, communal commitment or communal belonging, these are all things that people form habits on. What are you? Well, I'm a metalhead. What are you? I'm emo. What kind of music do you like? Oh, I like a bit of classical, but really I'm more of a ska kind of guy. These are things that people start defining themselves with. They belong to a community. But let's take a step back. Let's look at physical intimacy. It's important to know that in Islam, obviously, promiscuity is absolutely not acceptable. For you to have any form of physical intimacy, you must commit to a relationship. And this commitment to a relationship means you need to get married. You're not going to get any unless you put a ring on it. Again, we're not talking about the actual physical ring because that's a whole pagan thing. But nonetheless, we're talking about if you want physical intimacy, you need to be committed to a person that you will be starting a family with. And so this habit of getting easy access to satisfying your physical desires, that is out the window. You will no longer be allowed to do this. And this has to do with obviously the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, once you become Muslim, He forgives all your sins. And you do not want to start your life as a Muslim committing zina, committing fornication. So what we want to do is we want to stay away from any form of promiscuity and start, if you have a strong sexual desire, for you to start looking for a partner that will help you establish a good, strong family and will help you satisfy this sexual desire. The next step, obviously, is substance abuse, whether it's drugs and all the different things we mentioned before. Society in the West allows you I guess more and more these days, they're making it legal for you to escape, whether it be through medicinal marijuana or for you to purchase hard drugs or purchase alcohol. They have stores, it's legal. There's no kind of beyond the age, the fact that you are limited by your age. There is no restriction for you to go and purchase alcohol and consume alcohol, unless it's an intervention from your friends or your family, etc. So a lot of people, they form this habit of going and trying to figure out their problems and looking for solutions at the bottom of a bottle. And obviously these are things that nobody is successful in, which is why it's habitual. People will continually turn towards alcohol to forget their problems as opposed to solving their problems. And since when did alcohol ever solve a problem unless you are someone who sells and buys alcohol? We're not going to go into the fact that in Islam, anybody associated with the selling, buying, production, whatever of alcohol is considered damned. We're not going to talk about that hadith. However, I will leave it in the video description below. So we've spoken about sex, we've spoken about drugs, rock and roll. The idea of self-soothing and the idea of you only, I mean, imagine this, the idea of you getting home, you kick off your shoes, you go and pick up your favorite bottle of bourbon, you get a glass, you put some ice in it, you put the bourbon on the rocks, you go in, you sit down like that Maxell guy if you're really old like myself and you've seen that ad where the guy sits in an armchair, and there's a stereo system in front of him, and it just turns on his favorite music and then just relaxes as the music blows them away. This is something in Islam that is not acceptable. Obviously, none of these steps. You can get home, you can relax, but obviously the alcohol is haram and listening to the music is haram. Many people will say, well, what alternatives do you have? And it's not an alternative thing. It's not, well, this will replace this. Well, you can say when it comes to physical intimacy, the promiscuity will be replaced with commitment. You will have to commit to that person. You will have to be a good husband, a good parent, etc., to the children, that is. And so, in turn, you will be able to satisfy your sexual desires, and in turn, you will be able to form the basis and building block, or the basic building block of society, which is the family. When it comes to drugs, you don't have to do that. You don't have to soothe, or there is no substitute for the drugs. If we are talking about a like for like, we don't have a situation like that in Islam where we don't have a situation where you have an apples to apples conversion where you say, well, what can I replace this with? Because many people will say, when it comes to music, I'll replace it with Quran. But Quran is not music. It's not entertainment. Quran is not something that you listen to enjoy the melodiousness of it. You listen to it because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you instructions as to how you should live your life. Now, beyond the three, there are certain things that people form as habits, which are social events. How does a person deprogram themselves from being part of social events like Christmas, like Halloween, like Valentine's Day, like St. Patrick's Day? For me, as a person who was born Muslim, these are things that I never personally partook in. My family does not celebrate any of these, and as such, it's never a struggle. However, many other reverts have spoken about the struggle that they feel during these periods of times, like now, where Christmas is nearing and they have to explain to their families who are not Muslim, look, we're not going to be partaking in Christmas. We'll come and visit you during that time, because obviously the whole family usually comes together and gets together, but we're not going to bring you any presents. We're not going to be telling you to have a Merry Christmas. We're not going to go into that. But the idea is that we fulfill what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has required of us, because what Allah requires comes before everything, including what I prefer, what my family prefers, and what my children prefer. So breaking habits like eating haram, going to McDonald's or going to any fast food joint that maybe you've enjoyed your whole life. The idea of giving this up for the sake of Allah, of deprogramming yourself from this being your happy place to this being a no-go zone, for this becoming a non-entity. Personally, when I pass these restaurants, I don't even see them because I live in the West and these restaurants are not halal. They do not serve halal meat. But beyond that, obviously, because of their Zionist support, because of their support to the Zionist state, we should, as Muslims, boycott these businesses because of the damage that can do to our Palestinian brothers and sisters, because much of the profits that go towards these restaurants will be siphoned and redirected towards the Zionist state. So when we talk about deprogramming ourselves from certain self-soothing actions and activities, part of it is this idea of going and maybe gambling, maybe going to play poker with my friends. Even if what we're playing is dollars and cents, we're not really investing large amounts of money. The point is that gambling is haram. Maysir is haram. And so anything to do with gambling, whether it's the lotto, whether it's going to Las Vegas and gambling there, whether it's going to, I don't know what the other one is Reno, I think. I've been to Reno, I passed through it, didn't like it. So the idea itself of going to the game, nothing haram with going to the game. However, what is associated with going to the game? Sitting in a large stadium, drinking alcohol, betting. Betting is haram. Gambling is haram. And so this habit that was formed over decades of me and my friends going to the game and laying bets on who's going to win and so on, that changes. I can't go with you guys if we're going to sit down and drink alcohol. I can't go to the pub with you guys. I can't do this or that. And part of breaking and deprogramming that habit is surrounding yourselves with people who have the same ideas and beliefs as yourself. So if you believe that you can survive convincing your old friends or friends that are pre-Islam to stop these things and they comply, by all means, power to you, that's excellent, that's perfect. However, some people, their friends are their trigger. And this is something that is very important. The idea that some things will trigger you to do something haram, will be the trigger, the catalyst for you to partake in doing something that is haram. And so we want to completely avoid that. So gambling, not acceptable. Interest and financial activities. These are things that you have to deprogram yourself. And this starts from things like working in the bank. Working in the bank, in many cases, is haram. You're not supposed to go and work in an entity whose sort of cornerstone is usury, it was interest. And so working in that field is something that you have to deprogram yourself from accepting, from thinking that this is acceptable. The other thing is the idea of going and purchasing a house because of societal norms. It's the societal norm for me to go and purchase a house by going to the bank and committing to a multi-generational mortgage that is going to keep me in debt for the next 25 to 35 years. And if I miss any payments in the middle, that house goes away. So deprogram yourself from thinking that that is necessary. deprogram yourself from thinking that purchasing a vehicle with interest, with a bank loan is acceptable and is necessary. The key here is live within your means. Don't try to live above your means, because a lot of people, that's what they do. That's the core of their life, which is the idea of, I don't have the money for it now, but I can put it on a credit card, I'll buy it, and then I'll pay it off in installments. And now with things like buy now, pay later, like, what is it? Zip, with applications like Afterpay, all of these different applications, all of these different services, what they do is they effectively say, look, you can still do this. You won't have to pay interest for the first period of time. And a lot of people, because of the increase in cost of living, they'll say that's fine. And they'll continue wanting to live above their means and acquiring and accruing more and more debt. And this is something that is detrimental to new Muslims and Muslims who are looking to become closer to Allah. So, do you need to be deprogrammed? Most definitely, there is something in there, what I just said, that touches upon you, whether it be the sex, the drugs, the rock and roll, social events, the gambling, the financial aspect of it, the living above your means. Look within yourself and see what it is that is holding you back, because I guarantee you this is something that is holding you back from becoming closer to Allah. And I will mention one more thing, and this is the idea of deprogramming yourself from thinking that Zionism is equal to Judaism. Judaism has nothing to do with Zionism. Zionism is a political movement, and Judaism is a religion. I hope this was informative. I hope you can find benefit in what we said. In the next video, we'll talk about the concept of reprogramming and the tips and tricks and techniques that we can use and utilize to improve our chances of overcoming these habits that are formed during these pre-Islamic days, and how we can overcome them. Thank you for watching. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.